Okay, hello, good evening to and welcome, that's the word I missed, to the Buick show. So tonight is Tuesday, and that means, if you've been following along, Startup Tuesday. So, what kind of entrepreneurial magic can we possibly talk about today, which would enthrall you? Well, how about the magic number 5. Now, why would 5 be a magic number? And what on earth has it got to do with business? Well, it's a good job you're here tonight, because that's what I'm going to tell you. But in all seriousness, 5, 5, 5. That was my dynamic echo effect. Anyway, you'll see why 5 is significant in a second. So, here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. Is that if you look at almost any business, particularly website, visitors and that kind of stuff, you'll see that basically all sites kind of, start like this, and then at some point, for some reason, it kind of does that. Okay? And, naturally, do I mean naturally? Maybe I mean naturally. It's this point. Come on. There we are. It's this point here. Actually, over a little bit, to be honest. Where something happens. A momentum happens, which suddenly propels it, and then it continues to rise. Now, what's strange is that this is not really in line with everything on there we are with the product, lifestyle. Sorry, not product lifestyle. The product life cycle thing, which is, some kind of thing like this. In that, you're starting out, not much is happening. You get, the early adopters suddenly, come in, and then the mass people come in, and then, it tails off. Okay, that's the typical kind of product life cycle. And, obviously, the exact timing of this stuff, depends on multiple factors. And we can draw in the sections like the early adopters, and then the mass market adoption, and then, general consumerism, and then the failure. We can mark all these segments out. And, typically, it's not a rule. Anyway, so let me just remind that this is the product life cycle. I wish the default font would be something better than that. And that I would remember to select the text. Ta-da! So typically the product life cycle, might be, how do I want to do this? That again. It might be kind of, I'll copy them over in a minute now. Might be, 1 year, and then, this might be 2 years, maybe. And then this might be 5 years. Okay, and then if nothing else changes, then it's going to do that. But normally, what obviously we try to do is we try to what colour I use? We try to I won't say that again. innovate. What's that supposed to be? I just say scribble. Okay, that didn't work out very well. Anyway, but we try and innovate, around here. In fact, that was terrible. Let me just put any sort of shape there. We try and innovate here so that we can, get an up ramp again. Okay, and that's the product life cycle. So, but what's odd? So remember, this is like 1, 2, and 5. Okay, it's not to scale because I can't draw to scale. But what's strange, mystical, woo-woo, is that this thing over here, which is really, it's really a growth pivot point, doesn't really match up to that at all. So there's something odd going on, because again, this pivot point here is not related to the early adopters or the mass market adoption or the mass market or anything like that. It's to do with something else. And it's even debatable where this line is in, compared to this other line. Maybe you'd argue that the momentum, the pivot point is here, okay, because that's where the first surge happens. But it's really more. This is really more of a kind of a line. A kind of more of a straight line, really. So all this other stuff is just stuff that's happening. But this is the line that really excites me today. Okay? Just to match that in with that or something. What am I doing here? There we go. So to make it comprehend with the other thing we've drawn there, it's really, this, and then I'll just borrow that one. And this is really this, this pivot point, this momentum that suddenly, kicks in, and suddenly it's basically growth all the way. Okay, and that's the thing that's, weird, because it's not really to do with the product life cycle. It's to do with something else. So what is this? What is this line due to? Okay, and that's where the magic 5 is going to come in. So, so if you're going to superimpose that on that, it's probably a bit like that. So the interesting thing is why does that happen? And what is it that happens, at this point that suddenly gives you this continual growth? So, basically, we've got where we are today, and we've got our, go, and there's this kind of, I'm just going to call it momentum here, okay, which is the thing that springs us from there to there, okay, and again, as I did on the show yesterday or something, this isn't, we think of it as a straight line, but really it isn't. So, um, what do we, how do we cope with that as well? And the reality is really that it's more kind of all over the place. Okay, so I don't really need to draw that out, but you get the oops. You get the principle, I think, of that. So let's draw a couple more. I'll just put that one in. So usually the path isn't linear, and it's some sort of higgledy-piggledy path with all sorts of different roadblocks and reasons and things going on. Okay, so all that's happening simultaneously as well. So again, the big question is what is it that creates this kind of pivot point where suddenly you're not really having much success, and then suddenly you have a lot of success. How do we engineer this bit so that we can control when it happens, and maybe to some extent how large it happens. 5. Okay, I probably won't do that again. It's probably not a great effect for that in the echo. So how do we engineer this? We know that it happens. We know that products, by nature, have this product life cycle, and that we can do stuff to, to help it. But how do we engineer this? How do we get this pivot point to happen, and why does it happen? Okay, so so I've written pillars and stools here, as you can see, and this is kind of just another weird metaphor, but if you think of I should have done it with squares actually. If you think of it as a as a stool with chair legs, not chair legs, with stool legs. Is that a word? Yeah, just stool legs. I don't know. If you only have a one-legged stool, it's very unstable. Two-legged stool, also unstable. Three-legged stool we can get by with, and that's what a lot of people do. But it's a three-legged stool. So, what if we had a five-legged stool? Then that's going to be, super stable. Okay, I mean, even a four-legged table would be stable, but a five-legged stool or table is going to be super stable. So why have I spelled that wrong? Why am I talking about pillars and stools and stuff like that? It's not just because it's about the foundations that your business is built on, okay? Although that's obviously, one thing that we would, consider. It's oh, that almost worked. What was I going to say? Sorry, I've lost my thread here a bit. Yeah, well, semi-convincing 3D drawing. What was I talking about? Yeah, so why are we talking about stools and stuff with five pillars? What was pillars got to do with this thing here? Well, it's simply basically this. is that if somebody tells you something once, or you go out on a date once, it's it's a date, and it's probably very nice, but that's probably about it. But by the time you have a second date and a third date, okay, it's starting to become a thing. You're now invested in the relationship. You've gone through a process of learning and sharing and whatever. So by the time we get to the fifth date or whatever, it's really starting to be a thing. Okay. I've got this to flow for a minute. So let me just. So this is. I wish it would default something better than that. This is the one-off. It's very nice, but that's kind of all it is. It's a one-off. Two is whatever it is. But three, you're starting to get invested, as I said. But by the time we get to five, okay, it's really a thing. It's becoming a thing. And so we're more than invested in it. We're I don't know what the word would be. But more than invested. Okay, so that's kind of dating thing. But it's really any kind of, proposal and stuff like that. And then there's another thing, from sales and marketing, which basically, suggests that, it can take. It used to be 7, but now they're saying it's more like 16 touches before a customer will buy from you. So in other words, they've got to experience you as an entity in some way or other, 7 to 16 times, or 7 to 16 touches, before they'll be truly consider becoming a customer. Now I'm not talking about an impulse buy here. I'm talking about something a bit more higher end. There has to be this kind of relationship basically in here, where they've got to know you enough to trust you, and to know that you're an expert in what you're suggesting, and to define your authority so that they feel safe to buy. And it could even take, as I say, 7 to 16 touches in order for it to become a really big thing. So this is really it. Let me just duplicate that. Okay, so there's a couple of things to consider here. One is, if all of these steps, or whatever we want to call them, create momentum. Okay, so that's the first thing. So, and momentum basically, creates familiarity. Okay, so we can see why, brands, do this, because they want, they want that impact on the audience. They want the audience to remember them, and to think of them first. Whenever anything else is happening. Familiar. I'm not sure how you spell that. Anyway, yes, all these things create, this momentum. Let me just take that one. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry. The first thing is that there are multiple things happening, multiple steps, and that's creating, a momentum, and the momentum is very important. And the biggest key to success is momentum. Is to keep going, and doing it. But how do we implement that to create this pivot point for us reliably, so that we can, grow, so that we can grow, really, basically. I think it's really kind of, down to this, because we mentioned, with the dating thing, where did I put that? I'll put it there. Or child nagging or anything like that, or a politician, or a meeting, or a journey, or anything like that. How do we engineer this pivot point? So basically, it's, if I tell you, a story with 5 parts in it, it's going to be a fairly good story, because it's going to be complex enough, but not too complex that you can't follow along. That's thing one. But the second thing is that, what's the second thing? Hang on, I've forgotten. It was in my head a minute ago, now I've forgotten. It's basically, if I tell you, one thing, that might get your attention. Okay, if I tell you something else about it, then that may become interesting, something like that. Okay, and so on. We can add more interest in the topic as we go along. So what story is it that we want to tell that gives us this kind of path or success flow? And I want to propose to you, other than the number 5, let's slip that in again, is this, really. I'm going to use that again. It's basically this. So when we have these 5 things, not only does it create momentum, but it also creates a kind of a depth of interest, a depth of investment. As we say, it's starting to become a thing. So in marketing terms, what are these things? Because it's not just simply 5 exposures of the same thing. It's not, here's my product, buy it. Here's my product, buy it. Here's my product, buy it. It's not that. It's really when something has, five, what should we call them? There's five, assets, attributes, something like that. I'll call them attributes in a moment. That it becomes interesting enough to become attached to. Okay, so in other words, what is it, or how much of it, whatever it is, do we need in order to become attached, to an idea? So, one of the things is familiarity, but really, it's not familiarity because we want investment. Okay, so I know this is a bit off the wall here. I'm pretty sure I can't spell that. Anyway, but it's familiarity versus invested. And it's only when we become invested in something that we become attached. So, as I said here, we can't just say the same thing about the product, 5 times, and that's our version of this. It's not the way it's going to work. So what is it, that happens in marketing terms? So I think it's basically, I just think of the word for. I'm going to say outcomes for the minute. It might not be completely right. But going back to our, stool or pillar or table metaphor, with the multiple legs. It's really when we have 5 outcomes. I may change it from outcomes in a minute. I haven't thought this through yet. So, again, like, with the kid nagging, if you only, nag once or you only go somewhere once, then, that's your kind of one-off kind of thing. Whereas, as we do more of these, then we start to become invested and then we actually become attached. And attached is really, what we want to happen. So, how do we do this? Well, we literally need to put in 5 outcomes about your product or service or whatever it is that you're doing to pull this off. So let me just take that one there. I'm going to give you, my example because you haven't told me what yours is, so basically, this font's wrong again. Right, 1 second. There we go. So this 5 outcomes. How do we get those in there? So so that's what I was saying. Oops. So I'm going to talk about my product. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted today. Anytime webinars. So, as I talked about yesterday, basically what it does is it's automated webinars. Okay, that's the the common reference. Okay, if we want to explain it without having to explain it, deeply, then if we're talking about it in regular terms, what is it? Well, it's also the kind of lift speech. But what else is it? Well, it's event marketing, because that's what webinars are about, or that's what live webinars are about. Okay, but it's also, as we said yesterday, it's about congruency and not being fake. It's also about being frictionless. Okay, that's an interesting one, isn't it? And then finally, although there are probably others, there we go. And then finally, come on, there we go. What else is it about? And it's about interactivity. But in fact, genuine interactivity. Okay. Now you probably noticed something happening there. Is that as I added more and more reasons, you got more and more interested, because you couldn't describe to your product, in these terms. Is an automated webinar platform. It maximizes the use of event marketing, but it's congruent, and it's not fake, because it doesn't have a what should we say? It doesn't have full scarcity or urgency, or anything like that, because the thing about the Anytime webinar is that there are no slots, so we're not making them wait for the next hour or the next day or something, on the pretense that this pre-recorded video is only available at those times for some absolutely unknown reason, known to man in space. So that's the problem most people have with automated webinars, is that they know that they're basically just videos. Okay, and the video has no real scarcity or limitation or anything. So why do they have to only watch it at at 3 p.m. the next day? Why can't they see it now? The reason we don't, as marketers, we don't want them to see it now, is because then we don't have the scarcity and the event marketing going on that makes them need to focus and pay attention now. By making them wait just a few seconds, it basically gives it the feel of a live event. Okay, I know feel is a very subjective word, but it gives you a feel of a live event. Okay, but without the scarcity. So it's congruent. We're being open and transparent about the fact they do it. And the reason why it's called Anytime webinars is it's because the audience can see these webinars anytime to suit them. Okay, anytime to suit them. And that's a service to them, rather than putting it into these fake pigeonhole time slots where we say that their weapons are only available at that one time. Okay, because there's no real genuine reason why why they have to wait, or why what was the other thing there? Or why they have to wait for a slot, or anything. There's no reason why a video can't do it. But then we add, let's move that one. But then we add the the genuine interactivity. So although the show may be a video, the chat can be live. Okay, or if you want, it could be recorded. But the main idea of anytime webinars is that the chat can be live. And then finally, it's frictionless. Okay, so right from the moment that they see the ad to when they go on the landing page, okay, there's no opt-in, there's no fake scarcity or anything like that. There's nothing going on, and there is no opt-in, so they don't even have to give an email to watch this thing. But the whatever it is, the 6 second delay makes it an event and makes them focus on it. Now the reality, of course, is for transparency, okay, is that they can come back in 5 minutes and do whatever they want to do. Hang on, what was my point there? Not do whatever they want to do. So they could come back in 5 minutes and see the next show, okay, or the next 5 minutes after that. Okay, basically any time they come back, which is why it's called anytime webinars. Within whatever you set, 6 seconds, they can see the next show. Okay, with no penalties, no opt-in, no hard work. It's frictionless, whatever. And why would we do that? Well, that's because we want we watch the automated webinar, because the automated webinar is basically going to pre-sell them. Okay, and we don't care who watches that or when. We don't need to make them wait for it. We do want them to take it seriously and make it like an event, and that's why we present it as an event. So it's not just what should I say? It's not just no, completely not there. Okay. Anyway, so the point is that when I start to tell you 5 things that this platform does, it becomes interesting, and you actually become invested in it. Because when you only know 1 or 2 things, that's okay, but you don't really care. But when there are 5 things going on, 5 things is a kind of a magic figure for the brain to juggle. Okay, most of the superhuman memory quizzes and stuff like that, like the Krypton Factor, or whatever it was called, the really amazing people, I can't actually remember the figure, but might have been able to remember 7 things or certainly a very advanced person would have been able to remember 7, but most people could only remember 5. So when you're doing, making people know or remember 5 things about your product, you're basically filling all of their, not senses, but all of their slots, all of their interest, observation, experience slots. Okay, and that makes it very absorbing. If there's only 1 or 2, you can drift off and think about other things, and nothing may seem important. But when you've got everything in one place and even the one thing, they're all paying attention and focusing, then we're getting the result that we're trying to achieve. Okay, and I don't know why it's 5, but 5 things is kind of enough to make it interesting. And if you think of it in any other terms like TV shows or characters in a book or anything like that, or places to to go in a day, one or two is as I say is gets your attention, and but more three or four is going to get your interest, and then when we go all the way, then good grief, I've got what I was going to say then. I can't remember. Anyway, then we get their full attention. Okay, that's basically it. So the bottom line to this is that what controls this pivot point here is bizarrely when we have huge. Anyway, I'll have it anyway. When we have 5 things all going on at once, so that we can, really be absorbed by them. Okay, let me just. Do something like that. Okay, I might just make that a bit bigger. So when there are 5 things going on, if it's 5 streams, 5 facts, anything where there's 5 of them, then we have the ability to be attached to them, and when we're attached to them, they've got our attention, their focus, and we can then put them ahead of everything else that's going on. And that's basically the reason, or what we can do. It's not the reason, it's what we can do about this. So as I say, your 5 things may be different to mine, may change, whatever, but the bottom line is that once we have 5 things going on, 5 streams, let me just put that in text so I remember. Okay, when we have 5 streams, outcomes, then things just become, we become a lot more attached to, whatever it is. Okay. Put that over here somewhere. Okay. So, in practical terms, what you need to do basically is to, work out what the 5 hooks of your product are. Okay. Let's do another page here. So we want 5 product hooks, 5 product streams, so like traffic sources, whatever, and probably 5 different touch points, in other words different media, so that they hear the same thing in different places. So there could be blog posts, webinars, live streams, whatever, or or a couple of emails, anything like that. So they've heard of the same, or they've heard about the thing 5 times. Okay, and what else is missing? From this. So visually, when there are 5 things, so that could be 5 contrasting elements in the design, anything like that, and Yeah, I think that's about it actually. Let me just think if I've missed one. Yeah, so 5 case studies. They could be for different people, or it could be for the for the same people. Either way, if you have one bit of proof, that gets your attention. If you have 2 bits of proof, that might be interesting. But it's really when we have 5 bits of proof that we get attached to what's going on, and get invested and attached into the product. So you really need to come up with all of these for to implement this. So you actually need 5 product hooks. Need to have I could just say traffic streams there. You need to have 5 traffic streams, so that they kind of congregate into bigger than the whole as well. You need 5 touch points, so we want to get their message to them at least 5 times, with the teleporting sort of thing, or we want 5 bits of proof, or 5 case studies, or 5 applications of it. Obviously it could be a 5-part product. Okay, that would work too. And I'm just missing one there. Of course, I've forgotten what it is again. Oops. What? Right. Let me shrink that down a bit. Right, there we go. 5 parts or features about the product, or anything else that we can think of of the 5. So that's kind of it. So it's a kind of a strange kind of framing, positioning, plus mysteriously magical as to why it should work at all. But it does, and if you do more than 5, it can become too much, and that people get overwhelmed, and and then they give up. Getting that balance right is difficult, and I think it is actually pretty much probably in almost all circumstances, though I'm sure there can be different ones, that it's 5 of these things, because once you've got 5 things coming in from different sources with different angles, that kind of stuff, then it's enough to get us involved and attached to the topic. Okay, and that's kind of basically it, really. So let's leave it there, I think, actually. So I've given you a kind of a rough example of this for my own product for the Anytime webinars. Hopefully you can see how that fits together, and why the combination of all of these makes it into something that you can be attached to, basically. Because if I only told you 1 or 2 of these things, you're kind of going to be underwhelmed, because it's only 3 things. But when we have more here, then it's going to be more interesting. Okay, and then we get attached to it. Okay, so I can't really explain any better than that tonight. Plus I seem to be super tired and drifting off. But I think that kind of does explain it, in that, it's just that when there are 5 things to focus on, your mind becomes, or can become attached to it. Less than that, and you can kind of, have other things on your mind, get distracted. That kind of thing. It's a bit like juggling balls or something. Juggling 1 is, not a problem. 2 is, manageable. 3, you're having to focus. But 5 is actually, hard. Okay, it's enough to get you not just invested in the idea, but attached to the idea. So as I say, when we do everything that we can with this product, in that we have 5 product hooks. Actually, that was the thing I missed out there. 5. So I did say a case study, didn't I? Yeah. But 5, targeting, groups. Or if we have 5 testimonials, again, that's a worthwhile looking number of testimonials. We can certainly have less than that. We can have just 1 or 2. But if there's 5, then that seems like, that a lot of people are actually raving about it. Okay, do you see the difference? When you have 2, it's kind of, some mates, helping you out or something. And 3, is more believable, but 5, it really seems like, as I say, that people are raving about the idea. Okay, so that's why I want to go for the 5. But anything, as I say, we can do with this product in terms of, visually, if we have 5 of them, if we have 5 different styles of them, but on a similar theme, but nonetheless 5 different designs. If we have, the 5 case studies or applications, as I should say. Oh, actually, I've written that in that one as well. So that's our proof, really. The applications is, the different things we can do. Industries uses, tools for, that they're all, part of the potential applications. What have I written there? Industries. I need to play that back to see what I said there. And 2 bullets doesn't work at all. 3 bullets is a bit lame. So 5 bullet points, really starting to come home. Maybe you won't even remember them all, later on. But the fact that there are 5 of them will give you the impression, the feeling that it was, very important. So that's it. I'm gonna give up there because I don't know if that how good an explanation that was. But basically at this pivot point, it won't just be one thing that happened. It'll be the combination of 5 things, or maybe more, but at least 5 things, coming together. I might just do that. Right, okay, so as I say, 5, magic number. Apply it to all of your thinking about everything, and you'll see that it'll be a lot more effective and persuasive and interesting than of not doing the patterns of 5. Okay, that's it. I hope you're less tired. Talk to you then. Bye for now. Bye bye. And don't forget, 5.